Alright, for this next part, we're going to go ahead and set up our tower. And I'm going to go ahead and just move the house over here, just behind the stuff, so it's for now. And for our tower pieces, so we're going to start with our tower middle. Let's go ahead and do hierarchy, and then effect pivot, center to object, and I'm going to go ahead, and while that's still on, I just on the Z, the blue arrow, I'm going to move this straight up, so I kind of have it more towards the top here, and then we can turn that off. So that should be the very center of our tower at the top. So now what I'm going to do is take this board here, and the pivot point is centered, or we could, center it. And I want to actually rotate this around, but I already have it kind of placed where I want it. So to kind of make this easier, because if we look at our top view, press F3 and Z, F3 again, G for grid, you can kind of see I've got it evenly spaced out so that we can duplicate it. To save us some time with duplicating, the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to turn on effect pivot, because I'm going to change the pivot point. But what we're going to do is align the pivot point where we're going to rotate it from. So we'll click that. We're going to click the tower, and here you see, oh, you want to move your pivot point to the center. So we're aligning the XYZ pivot point to our tower object. We're going to click OK. And so there's our pivot. So now I can press E for etate, and I'm going to hold Shift and, oops, Control Z. So first we still have the gizmo on, so let's turn that off. Then we can E for etate, and we'll hold Shift, and then on the yellow one here, I'm going to rotate it until I get it 90 degrees. So, and this is a copy, so trim, it's going to name it 001. That's, we're actually going to do an instance, so if I change one, it changes all of them in Edit Poly. So click OK. So you do need to make sure you have rotate snapping on as well. So I'm going to hold Shift again, 90 degrees, instance, OK. Let's check everything. Hold Shift. Alright, there we go. And for our window here, I think I already got it in the center. Let's just try that. Actually, this one isn't going to matter as much, but I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate, Shift, drag it out to the side, and Shift, drag it out to the other side. And then we have our 4x4 stud here, and so I'm going to go ahead and let's first select our trim boards here. I'm going to control click each of them. Now that they're all in blue, I'm going to hold Shift and drag those up to the top, and we'll just do instances. And you could see I just want it to slightly go through the roof, so I have it aligned up there. Maybe a little bit more. So this one is not quite as tall as I need it to be, so we'll just press R, Scale it up just a little bit. There we go. And then I want it to go through the trim boards on the top and through the trim boards on the bottom. And then we'll go ahead and move this, duplicate this over, and we'll just do instances. And so we're going to need this board later. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and shift drag this out to make a copy in this case, because this is just going to be a different separate one here. And we could rotate these a couple different ways. We could move them into place. What I'm going to do is just select all of these, and you have 3 windows and 3 studs. So we're just going to go ahead and rotate these, and I will hold shift and drag out to 90 degrees, and I'm going to do instances. And they don't have to be super perfect, but it's pretty easy to just move them into place. There we go, and I could just go ahead and select these ones all over again. So now we have 6 windows and 6 posts. And I'll do rotate and hold shift and rotate 90 degrees, do an instance. So I need to do it again. Whoops. Without holding shift, because I didn't rotate it all the way. There we go. Go. And I'm not sure where this one came from, but we'll just delete that. And anywhere you see any problems, like here's the roof coming out, we can actually just select our roof, and let's just move our roof over. So the other boards look fairly good. This board needs to kind of come out just a little bit. There we go. And then we could come in here and even, kind of rotate some of these a little bit. Pull one out. Maybe this one here will rotate a little bit more angled. Right, and this changes it up too. This one maybe I'll rotate the other way around. So it's not the same repeating texture every single one. They're a little bit different, or rotated a little bit differently. There we go. It's really coming together there. There we go. And then we're going to take our major beam here, our 6x6 beam, and you notice it's underneath the window stud here. I'm going to hold shift and drag out a duplicate. and this is an instance. And then this one here, I'm going to drag out a duplicate here. And this one, I'm going to do a copy and name this diagonal or diag. So it's going to be its own. And I want to be able to rotate this and edit it. So what I'm going to do first is I just want to align it to the center for this. So first let's effect pivot center to object, turn that off. And then I'm going to align it to the tower, XYZ, click OK. And then I'm going to press E for rotate or etate. And I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. And then I'm going to hold shift and rotate again as an instance 45 degrees. And so we might have to go into our top view. Yep, so you can see I didn't quite get it. It didn't show the degrees, and that's okay. I'll just rotate it. There we go. So now it's a perfect X there. So now what we can do is I can go in here to edit poly, and I don't want to scale the object. What I want to do is I want to scale the element. So I'm going to select this element, and I'm going to press scale. Now this scale, if I look in my top view, is not going to scale it correctly, right? So what I need to do is go up here to my reference gizmo, and I'm going to change this to local. Now on the Z, it faces locally, and I can extend this out, go P for perspective, and I can kind of see where it's at now. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out just a little bit more. There we go. And I can turn that off. I'm going to control click these two, and I'm just going to move them down a little bit. And they don't have to be exactly the same. I can move one down, maybe more than the other one, and we're good to go. So these two here, I'm going to go ahead and rotate them and hold shift. Do instances, and whoop, they're crooked, so T for top view, and then just make sure they're straight across. P for perspective. I might do like maybe, let's do L for left view, Z to zoom in. And we can kind of see they look alright. P for perspective. I'm going to go to effect pivot, center to object. And then I'm going to do my align. And they look pretty close. I just cancel that. Let's just move them over. If you just get this view, you can kind of see if it sticks out from the bottom. And so you can just kind of guesstimate, because it doesn't have to be perfect. But you want a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other side, so it just pokes out, you know, just a couple inches in space. And then now we're going to create like a front window kind of hutch piece. So we're going to we'll take the window and two studs. And we'll also take, let's go ahead and shift drag these down. And for this, I'm going to do a copy. So for this one, I'm going to delete because I want to just control one for right now. And to give this some shape here, what we may want to do is just pull this out just a little bit more. we just want to have it a little bit less than, or a little bit more, you could say, than the actual tower pieces. And we're going to move this board to kind of center it with the window. And we're going to take this piece here that we have, and this is called angled plane. Let's go ahead and shift drag this down, and I cancel that. We're going to use this for the whole side because that would just be smarter. So we're going to kind of line this up. You can kind of see, so it's kind of just lined up so they're intersecting the board. You can also do this with the top view if it's a little confusing. We can control click these three. We can isolate. You can go to your top view and you can see this plane, you know, simply goes through. There you go. P for perspective. Now, we don't want to just scale this because it stretches the texture. It looks pretty bad. So what we're going to do is just move this down, and we're going to end up fixing this later. So I'm also going to hold shift and drag this over to the other side, and I'm going to do an instance. So when we go to edit one, it'll just edit the other. We'll also do this for this piece here, so we'll hold shift and drag it down, and we'll do an instance as well. And this one I'm also going to rotate a little bit differently. There we go. And we can go ahead and end isolate, so we have our window pieces. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag this one down. And we're just going to do a copy because I don't think we're going to have to, the next few pieces, we are not going to need an instance. So we can just do a copy. And I'm going to rotate 90 degrees. And we'll poke this one. This one I might straighten it out a little bit. And for this one, I am going to just scale it perfectly. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I do want it to kind of poke out just a little bit, but not too much. And so let's go ahead and hold shift and drag it over. We'll do a copy here. I'm going to control click these two, and maybe we want to do some windows you might not want to, but maybe since this one's kind of coming out of the building, we might want to do some support. So we can shift drag this down and copies, and then we're going to rotate. We're going to do like 45-degree angles, so we got to move it down and over. And then these ones I'm going to make maybe just a little bit smaller. Move them back just a tiny bit, so there's kind of the shadow right there. And that's good. And then we're going to take this one and let's hold shift and drag out. Alright, we can move this over. Let's go ahead and rotate it. We'll do 90 degrees. Move this one into place. And we'll kind of, well, the pivot point is really wonky. Let's go ahead and go to a hierarchy, effect pivot, center to object, turn that off. And let's scale this on the X inward. Press W, and then we'll move it back in to place here. There you go. So now we kind of have like a frame area, and we can also take this board and hold shift and drag it up to the top as well. And maybe for this one we're going to move it over. We'll go ahead and scale this one out a little bit past, so it looks like it's kind of sitting on top. There we go. And now we've got a window.